Well. If you're here, you're one of those bulk pony black hat folks that want to grow their charts. Um, I think this video today is mostly going to be for the people who subscribe to my channel. If you're somehow stumbling upon this, I don't know how you would. If you are, go to my channel. I do completely unscripted and live cuts, no edits of videos where I go over pretty much the biggest black hat SEO techniques I think are out there. For most people, I think they're shocking to see, but if it's not shocking to you, then sorry, you'll have to wait until the next video. I also completely accept any roasting and comments. I'm totally fine with that, so go ahead and do it. But I do appreciate any comments. I appreciate any subscriptions. I appreciate any thumbs up as well. Okay, so I guess we're just going to do a little quick story time for, again, I think most people who are going to be watching this video are going to be my subscribers. So, getting into the underbelly of Black Hat SEO. So, how did this happen? A little quick story time. How did I get invited? Yeah, I realized very quickly it's very invite only to get access to what I'm going to show you. It's not everything, okay? It's not everything. Keep that in mind, but it's still very interesting. So I was building a niche site back in, I don't even know, maybe 2016 or 2017, and also working for some pretty large media companies. And what we ended up realizing was that doing traditional PR was getting really difficult. Okay, and so what ended up happening was more people wanted to make money, and the way that they were making money was what we're going to find out here today is pretty interesting. And so anyway, we ended up having this difficult time doing traditional PR, which is essentially the way to get more backlinks. If you're a big and major brand, that's what you're going to want to do. Well, guarantees on specific media placements is not a new thing, right? So media placements and pay to play, we're going to use this term a lot, pay to play. This isn't new. Okay, this is old. And generally speaking, pay to play would mean that you're paying for a sponsored post. So today, we're calling sponsored posts parasite SEO. It's been around for a long time. The only difference of what parasite SEO is, which I'll make a video on it because there's a lot of different ways to do it. You don't have to pay a ton of money. You don't have to use Outlook India. Is that the article itself is actually monetizable. In most cases, the article itself would be just for the backlink. Okay, so we started to essentially realize that there was this pay-to-play model that was going through brokers, and I'll show you the broker here in a second that we started to use. And the short story is, as we started to spend money, we found out that we got access to more, which is pretty simple. But the key here is, and we'll go over this, how we got access to more. So they don't show you everything that you get access to. So before we get into this though, where can you find a majority of these? Honestly, you can go to Black Hat World and you can find some. I would say you're gonna have to spend a ton of time to go through who the brokers are and trying to uncover whether or not they're real. And that takes some time, and that also could take some funding. And I'm talking like quite a bit of funding. And then they'll give you access, which you can sign up today, to something like this. This is Jux Digital, and this is a pay-to-play placement where you can get on pretty much any website that you want, and I'll show you how you get on any website that you want. But this is a yahoo.com link for $1,700, and it says main domain, so it's not the subdomain, which is pretty cool. Some of them are subdomains. You can see Washington Post subdomain. You can see some news websites. You can see IBM.com, $1,700, IBM.com. So for some of you, I think that should be pretty interesting to see that you can get any website or any person mentioned on IBM.com for $1,700. Observer, things like that, and tech times as well.com. So I think if you are just checking this out, you should, you're going to say like, okay, well, that's just a couple of websites and that's pretty cool. And yes, so this is what happened. This is how we got access to more. We started buying some of these. We bought one of the more premium placements like yahoo.com. And pretty simple, which is kind of funny, is these brokers have access to a lot more than what they publish. And it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, right? So once you actually show that you have the money to buy one, all you do is just ask them for more, right? And they'll come up with more, which is pretty impressive. So they'll come up with pretty much any website that you want. We had entrepreneur.com. So we had entrepreneur.com, we had amazon.com, we had, any website that you could think of, it's available to get onto if you've got the money. And that's the unfortunate part, is if you want to build some real big backlinks for your site, it's going to cost a lot of money. We just went over this one and how much yahoo.com costs, and that's $1,700, okay? But then you'll get access to a sheet kind of like this, and this is an old one. And you certainly could go to this link here if you really wanted to. But you could see you get access to stuff like, subdomains on today.com, which, don't kid yourself, that's still very useful. Yale, MarketWatch. Here's the entrepreneur.com link, which you can get for $1,200. So I don't think that's very much money if you really think about it. You can see some pretty important websites. So yahoo.com/news, that's pretty important. AP News, which isn't like huge to be, I would say that's more easily accessible, but you've got some other ones here like Market Watch. Amazon is on there. It's going to be a press release for that Amazon one, but still that's going to be useful because it's coming from a pretty major domain. BuzzFeed.com, so there's one that's pretty interesting. It's not going to be a do follow. It doesn't really matter. But look how cheap the backlink is. It was $250. And so what do they say by feature? Feature means that like you can essentially talk about your entire company or your entire website for more of a price tag. And like you get access to lists like this, and then even bigger lists as you they'll come to you. You get invited to them as you start to spend more money. You will have to ask for more, but you will get invited as you actually have the money. So like here's chicagonow.com, San Francisco Weekly. These are actually like some pretty, I would say, real websites to get backlinks on, right? And as we scroll, the list just kind of goes on. Some of them are garbage, some of them are trash, and that's totally fine. Depends on kind of what your strategy is. But they usually just kind of give you the bag, and then you got to just decide what it is that you want to buy, which is really interesting, right? And so I'm just trying to kind of see if there's anything else there that's interesting, that's like kind of, interesting to look at. But let's say, for example, you wanted to, I don't know, get onto, you wanted to get onto today.com. You wanted to get onto USA Today. We've gotten onto USA Today. Let's say you want to get on CBS.com or Fox News, like the main channel of Fox News, just like Fox.com. That is all accessible. You just have to ask. You just have to ask these brokers. Once you start paying money, they'll actually take you more seriously. So you have to start buying. So that's I'm not telling you to buy these services, okay? Because I'm not making any money off these services. So don't do that. I'm also not telling you how to actually build the backlink on it. So you don't do that either. But if you know what you're doing, because it's definitely more for like the advanced person, then you can definitely purchase a backlink. And then once you do that, once you actually buy a more premium one, that's when you can start to put in your asks to the broker and say, hey, we need to get on this website. Can you help us? So that's going to be your strategy, and that is the strategy that we got access to and I got access to. And yeah, it's very much so invite only once you think about it that way. Okay, You can see some of this stuff, sure, but the actual unique things, it's invite only once you start buying. Once you start buying, then you can create the asks. So, what could you do? I guess if you are, just like wanting to spend a little bit of money. Well, I mean, a lot of these are pretty cheap if you look at it. I mean, like $400, $200, whatever it is. I mean, a lot of these are actually like still pretty cheap backlinks, which is interesting. So you can certainly, if you have a little bit of money, let's say you have $2,000, you could still get some pretty impressive backlinks. And sure, they might be a little snipey, but I think that that's, still valuable and useful if you're really trying to build a more premium website. Okay. How do you get access to more? Honestly, the like if you let's say for example a broker doesn't get you what you're looking for, broker doesn't get me what I'm looking for. You start working with other people. You start working with other brokers, and again, you go back to Black Hat World. You start to send some emails. You start to try to send some messages. Usually, it's via Skype or something like that. And you will, if you kind of know what you're doing, meaning like you've said, hey, these are the links that we've built. This is the links that we've paid for, and here are the brokers that we've used. And then you start conversations with other brokers. They're going to be a bit more serious about giving you a list that is more realistic. Okay, so how do they get on these sites? So this is really key, and I think this is something that I'm hoping some folks do see, because I think this is probably in need of blowing up a bit. So they get on these websites for a couple of different ways. One, the first way is okay, and that's just that someone that they know has access to them to publish. Okay, so it's just like maybe, for example, like I could get access as like an author to, to Business Insider or to Forbes if I pay $2,000 a year to be a Forbes Insider. Okay, so I can pay $2,000 a year to be a Forbes Insider, or like a Forbes, I think it's like a Forbes Insider or whatever it's called. Again, these are unscripted, uncut. So once I have that access, okay, then I can broker it out to the brokers and basically say, I can post up a link. Then those brokers could work with me directly as an author, and I could include that as an article that I end up writing, a link that I end up including. Now, the second way, which is really interesting, and I think is the most internet breaking when it comes to all of this, I'm using this phrase, I guess, internet breaking, but I think it's a little bit snipey, is you essentially pay authors who work at these companies, and the editorial staff and the companies that employ them don't know that they're making money off these links. This is the most shocking part to me. This is the part that I learned, and I don't know if I love this. I don't really know if I love this. Yeah, I probably don't love this. And now that I'm hearing myself say it, I don't love this. And the reason why I don't love this is because it kind of feels like what's happening is well, the internet is fake, right? I mean, like, shocker, the internet is fake. But it really goes to show that what's happening is that you're paying employees to essentially steal from their employers, whether they like to or not. It's kind of a gray area because, yeah, sure, like, well, sorry, not whether they like to or not, whether they admit it or not. And it's a gray area because they're just including a link, okay? And so if they're just including a link, sure, I mean, it's hard to prove that they're doing something malicious, but at the end of the day, they're accepting payment for something that that their employer isn't paying them for, okay? And so that's what I mean by pay to play. That's where things are going, and that's where things have been going for a very long time. It's pay to play, meaning like you are paying one of the authors to quite literally list you. Now, this is the reason why doing outreach by email doesn't work as well. If you're doing backlink building and you're just doing outreach by email all day long, like, it's just not going to work. And it's because they're expecting money now. They want $2,000 to include your link in an article that they're writing. And that's just how it goes. All right, I hope this video was useful. If you would like more on this subject, I definitely will share more in the future. I don't know, maybe it's interesting to you. Again, I don't have anything to sell you. You can just do all of this yourself. You can go to all of my links. I'm not going to give you the traditional pitch because this video is primarily for my subscribers. So I do things. You know what those things are. Go ahead and pause this video. Take a look at them. That's my email. I hope you have a great day, Black Hatters, and please continue to comment, subscribe, like, do all the things, and let's see those charts go up and to the right. Let's see them. I hope they are.